What's going on, everybody? It's Amster X back with another video. Today we have War of the Adults for today's chapter review, chapter 58, and let's just get into it. And let's just be honest. I mean, War of the Adults. I think people are liking the series because I think at a basic level they're like, "Oh, this series resembles reality," and that's cool and all, but I think that trope can only last so long. And I think that's where we're running into these issues with the story and the pacing. And I feel like the author doesn't really know which direction to go. And that's why we kind of have this reset. And I don't know if you guys noticed, like in all the series that are happening right now, there's a lot of resets going on. I think there's a real struggle going on in Shonen with helping these writers um, develop series. I think I might make a video on that in general. A separate video, but let's just talk about war. For example, we just see Shinobu got taken, right? And he by the Icy Men, and Momo and Yutaro are fighting each other right now. So and it builds up to nothing. So it builds up to nothing. So we see what happened, and the big reveal about these glasses, because Momo has the same glasses as the Icemen. Is it's look. And it turns out, oh, these are knockoffs. Like all this big reveal to, the things happen too fast in the chapters, and then they're outright. And I get it, and that's why you see the picture in my border. Like I love One Piece, and the author loves One Piece, and I get that. But and he it makes the character kind of just go, I'm gonna go tackle these issues head on. But these build up climaxes with the terrible dialogue, right? He's just like, Momo, fight me, and you have to tell me the truth now. And it's like, okay. And then he's like, all right, the glasses are a knockoff. Why didn't you just say this in the beginning? Why do we have two chapters about fake glasses? And then Shinobu, we get the backstory. And honestly, that's probably the best chapters we've had in a while, in probably over 20 chapters, the Shinobu backstory, about how he was the up and coming news reporter. That was great. And now we're on to this resort arc where it's hidden in plain sight, or it's hidden in plain sight, right? Where everybody's there, women and everybody's going missing, and that's where they're going. But this is the issue: is that the author stated that they want 20 volumes. I think we're at 4 or 5, right? We're 4. How the hell are we getting 20 volumes? The amount of writing drastically, the resort arc would have to fail. um Yutaro would maybe have to get corrupt. Like, there's too much to write that I don't see how we're getting 20 volumes of this. I'm gonna be so honest. I really don't. I feel like unless they do, and there's nothing wrong with a reset and a change of pace in a series. Like, you just watched my hero review, go watch that. I talk about it, you know. So let's just keep going though. I just feel like we're running into so many issues. So we get this backstory about Momo, and it's his father who's gonna be ultimately right now painted as the big bad, the villain. We see Kuroda later, where it's like they're having a dialogue and they're having an exchange and they're having a little face off. So we see that his father was started the Iceman. So he said, my father worked for the National Police Agency. To put it crudely, he was on the career track. He worked kept away from home most of the time, but I believed he was working for the good of the country. And he realizes that later. He says, I don't have the panel here, but his father only talked about people he didn't save, right? He never talked about people he did save. And then we move on, and then we see the backstory about he gets promoted. A year later, Garden was implemented, and the Icemen. And I get it. Like I said, the play on words, the Icemen, we have Ice, right? Who are taking and capturing people. Cappy's reflecting that in the story. There's a lot of reflections, right? You can be being rude, doing things for social status, right? And we get that, but there has to be some sinister underlying. Yes, the garden is sinister, right? But there has to be something a little deeper, right? Like that, like would really draw, like, so we still have a mole, right? When we find out. Like, it would make sense if Oji or Misato are the mole. You need to have some type of people who yeah, they may sympathize with the cause, but at the end of the day, they're like, I really want my own piece of the pie, like the Matrix. Remember Matrix in the first one where he just wants the steak, even though he knows it's virtual. I can't remember his name. But he's like, yeah, man, whatever. I can't do this war anymore. And you need something like that. There needs to be some humanity in this story that isn't just some like one piece. I'm gonna bully my way through it because let's be real, like unless they have an arc where, and I think they hinted at it, where Shinobu in the previous arc says, the main editor says, things aren't always black and white; they're shades of gray, and for the young boy who gets arrested and framed for the crime of the killing of his girlfriend, um, Shinobu's like, I don't want to be that big of an adult, right? Like, I don't want to have to be okay with that in life. But like, let's be honest, that is what's happening in life. The older you get, obviously you guys know I'm an English teacher. The older you get, the more you have to let things slide. There's not much I can do. There's not much I can control. So, and I'm not saying that I'm happy with it. I'm not happy with it. So look at Shinobu's route. There needs to be that for Yutaro. There needs to be some understanding that this One Piece-esque, like that's One Piece, right? And maybe that's the story that he's gonna try to push, that Yutaro doesn't change, and look, this fantasy world, but how much do you want to reflect real society? Where if can Yutaro understand and come out and still be the same? Because you can understand, right? Like you can go through like how Luffy loses his brother, um, goes through all these trials and tribulations, but then he's still like that hurt. And I understand the real world now, but I'm going to still be myself in spite of it. And Yutaro needs some of that. There needs to be a real serious arc where he grows. So we see in the backstory, Momo, she's a police officer, one of your father's subordinates. And we see that his father has his own mother kidnapped. And Yutaro's like, what kind of man would go that far? I can't believe your dad is such a villain. A villain, perhaps? It's the opposite. So he's saying that maybe his dad's not even really bad. Like maybe he just wants to protect peace so bad because of whatever happened to him. He is willing to do anything to protect the peace and be evil for it. And that's why he's like, I reject my own father's justice and I assert my own. I will go by my own rules. Yutaro, you're still so innocent and brash, but I'm going to do my own way of trying to fix these issues against the garden. Um, and that's why he says earlier in that chapter, I think the previous chapter where he's like, Yutaro, you're not able to go and be evil for your cause. I'm gonna take a sip of water. He's not able to, be evil for his cause, and that's the biggest problem here. So we have the last little bit. He says, "Look, of course he's not evil. I can't believe you were even thinking that." And then again, this is why I said it just feels so rash and just too fast paced. Oh, look, we can go in and stop the resort. We'll smash the camp to pieces. Like that's what a child would say. We're gonna smash that camp to pieces, no problem. And then it's like, especially with the team we've got assembled, uh, like that's how it has to fail, you know. And let's keep moving. Oop, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Sorry here. Let's get back to that page. I just think that we're running into the same issues that in my hero review. Let's get back to it. Still working with this recordings, getting used to it. So then in the very end, we see here, thank you for your diligent efforts on the Shinobu Unoka purge operation. I got a souvenir. Want one. So we see Kuroda at the very end, and like we know he's talking to Momo's dad. So let's keep going. We see him talking to Momo's dad. And he goes, so who was it anyway, by the way? The mole on, Team Urameshi. Basically, Uramisha. It would pain me to erase you too. And that's kind of how it ends, where he's like, it just feels like, so we got conflicting motives collide, right? So it's like this big battle between the two. So he's setting this up for this. There's a direction the story can go, and I just feel like it's so right now. Like, I've seen reviews of people dropping series, and this series is very droppable right now. And I just wanted to get all my my concerns out of the way in this review. I feel like not, and that's something I want to state about this channel is that this chapter is weekly review, and not every channel. I mean, every chapter isn't amazing, and every chapter is open to criticism. And we, as a story writer myself, you know, I'm looking and I'm judging this like, what are we saying in these chapters, right? Obviously, and I just feel like I'm not seeing much, like, okay, they have conflicting motives. Kuroda, so we see that the dad is really the big bad, and he really is starting garden, and Kuroda is ultimately just like the face of the garden. But it could still be good if Momo's the mole. If Momo's the mole, that would still make sense. Because the glasses are fake, right? Who's making them? They could. You don't think that his dad's not spying on him because he is a part of the elite? Like, come on, his dad's not spying on him, so he could be subconsciously, unconsciously be the mole. Let me know what you guys think so far in this chapter. I just feel like the story doesn't really have a clear direction, and I think people are buying into the hype of like, oh, it reflects society, but it's like, okay, but we need more than that. One Piece reflects society. This author's favorite manga, it reflects society, and guess what? It's a goofy show. If you just watched it, you wouldn't even realize it. But it's not until people start breaking it down where they're like, wait, this is what's happening right now. So you need to be a little deeper. This is surface level at the end of the day, in my opinion. But I mean, I still enjoy the series. I still enjoy Yutaro. I still enjoy some of the characters. Not all the characters have life. But I feel like the author tries, their best. So let's just keep, let's see where we go with the series. Let's, hopefully this next chapter is good. I'll do a review on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you. Amstar out.